Hey guys, Adam from Ironcore. Again, this is probably going to be the longest video I'll ever make for this channel. Or at least this segment. This is going to be about how to side deck. This is rough. You have 15 cards that you can put into your main deck from the side deck, and between games 1 and 2, and then 2 and 3. I mean, I should hope you guys know what side decks are. Anyway, side decks are really hard to make efficiently, and then also knowing how to put the cards in and what cards to take out is really important also. So I want to go over a few cards and how I side deck whenever I play Yu-Gi-Oh! Or go to a main event. And then what cards you should be considering in your side deck. I'm going to use the current format because it's the current format. And I'm going to try using it in terms that if you watch this video a year from now, you still understand. To start off, you can side deck monsters, spells, and traps, obviously. But the monsters you side deck, they have to be really specific. Now these are 5 monsters that are heavily side decked currently. And here they are. Yeah, Flying Sea, DD Crow, Maxi, Thunder King, and Grand Mole. Now, a lot of these ones are hand traps, these 3. Alright, with these 2 being cards that are limited to 1, which is funny. But when side decking these cards, you need to think of things. Alright? DD Crow has fallen off the map, essentially, side deck wise, but still side decked a little bit. Why is that? Because it doesn't do too much. It does some stuff. Like, it banishes Deneb for Altair, so then they can't Altair it back, which is good against Satellar Knights, but Satellar Knights are fading away. Against Shaddoll, that doesn't really do too terribly much. If it made all the Shaddolls miss timing, it'd be better, but it can't. The only thing it really does is make Burning Abyss miss timing, which is okay, but they can always cycle their stuff back, so they really don't care too terribly much. But hand traps are where you want to be with monsters. Flying Sea is okay. Again, it's like a Raigeki on your opponent's turn if you can summon it. It's a Raigeki on your opponent's turn if they're playing Burning Abyss. And also it's versatile, which is good. Cards in the side deck should be versatile. And like, you should be able to play them against multiple matchups, not just one. So like, I'm not going to side deck 15 cards for Lightsworn if my local is not every person besides me playing Lightsworn. Makes no sense. You need to divvy up your side deck to the decks that are being played, and then also the decks that you have the most trouble with. So more of your side deck spots should be devoted to a deck that you're having problems with, rather than a deck that you can easily beat in game 1 and 2. Flying Sea is okay. You shouldn't side it against decks that can synchro, because it'll suck it up into a synchro monster, or decks that contribute over it. So it's really not that great against Burning Abyss anymore, because they all main deck rises. Maxi is okay, again. Maxi should be only played in formats where you're going to get a lot of pluses off of it, and you shouldn't have to hold it for too terribly long. In the current format, where your opponent only special summons maybe once per turn, but then they also can special summon twice or 3 times when they're going for a push. It makes it so they have to hold your Maxis. And it's not the greatest side deck card ever. But, yeah. Thunder King Raiho. This video is going to be terribly long, I'm sorry guys. But yeah, Thunder King and Grand Mole. They take up a normal summon, which is the problem. So if your deck doesn't normal summon too often, they're pretty good. Grand Mole will bounce, obviously, like the Xyz and Fusions and Synchros, which makes them more of a neg than they already are. And Shadolls are not so much a neg. But yeah, when Thunder King is Thunder King, it's pretty good. It makes it so your opponent can't add cards, and then you contribute it to negate summon, which currently is only really good against Satellar Knights, for the most part. So that's why that's not seeing too much play. But yeah, so there's that. I don't know why this video is terrible, I'm sorry guys. But, so yeah, playing these cards, you have to make sure your deck doesn't have too many normal summons. Like, if I played Gladiator BS, I wouldn't play these cards unless they're in the main deck already. Because if they're in the main deck already, then you're already taking into account that you have more normal summons. But you can't play these in like a deck like Satellar Knights, because in Satellar Knights you just need to summon Altair every turn. you can't play the cards like this. You want to veer more towards cards like these. That's why hand traps are just most of the time better for side decks, because you don't have to waste your normal summon, and it doesn't take away from your deck's main strategy, which is what you don't want to happen when you're side decking. So yeah, so that's a discussion on the kind of monsters you'd be side decking. The kind of spells you'd be side decking would be cards like these three. Dimensional Fissure. It's obvious against cards or decks that rely heavily on sending to graveyard. So like Lightsworn, Shaddolls, Burning Abyss, and Satellar Knights. Satellar Knights not so much because Xyz materials don't go to, or they go to grave under Dimensional Fissure. But this is really handy against like things like Shaddolls when they go Shaddol Fusion from deck or hand. They can all get banished. Things like this where they're spell versions of trap cards. So this one will be more like a Compulse. And Lance, a defensive card against like heavy backrow decks. Also decks that just inherently have more attack points. So you don't side deck spell cards too terribly often, just because there aren't too many side deckable spell cards. But the one you do side will be either continuous spells or quick plays in order to combat what your opponent is doing. Then trap cards. Your side deck most of the time is going to consist of trap cards. And the trap cards I'm talking about are Floodgates. I'm going to go over the non-Floodgate card first, which something is like Chain Disappearance. Chain Disappearance is really good in the side deck because right now, I think it's good still. Other people don't. But I think being able to hit monsters out of the deck is really crucial. And banishing them all is really good too. That's why things like Chain Disappearance are good. Other cards similar to Chain Disappearance aren't Floodgates, but are still traps that are really good. Cards like Curcio the Forbidden Spell, where you discard a spell card, negate a spell card, your opponent can't activate that spell for the rest of the turn, for the rest of the duel. There aren't Floodgates, but they're still good trap cards that their effect is really only ever found in that specific card. Now you wouldn't main deck these cards because they're too conditional, but you can side deck them easily enough. But the other traps I'm talking about are Floodgates, which are what most of your side deck should be consisting of. So yeah, look at all those Floodgates. Floodgates are essentially cards that say your opponent cannot play Yu-Gi-Oh! Starting from left to right, Goes Match. Goes Match is, if you're playing a single attribute deck, Goes Match is really, really good. Rivalry of the Warlords will be the same if you're playing a single type deck, or two types that you can easily manipulate what types are on the field. It's not so good in this current format, but in a format like Dragon Rollers, where your opponent would have all kinds of different attributes, it would be very detrimental to flip a Ghost Match. Macrocosmos is similar to Dimensional Fissure, except it's chainable, which is why trap cards are infinitesimally better in most situations. Shadowmere and Lightmere are also very, very good. These are staple cards for any side deck, because you can because a lot of the times Dark and Light decks are rampaging the meta like crazy. And this Tycoon Dirge is also just a better version of Flying Sea, because it's harder to get rid of than Flying Sea. Also, it makes it so that you don't have to play around your own cards as much. Like with Flying Sea, you can't leave a monster in attack position, else they're just going to attack right into it, and then Xyz summon main phase 2. Well, Dirge makes it so they really can't Xyz summon if they only play a mono Xyz deck, like only rank 4s or only rank 3s. And then Mistake just says you can't add cards from deck to the hand, or neither player can add cards from deck to the hand. So if you're playing something like Yang Zing, well, you don't ever add cards from the deck to the hand except for drawing them. It's really, really good. But cards like these are where your side deck is most likely going to be. That was a quick run through of what cards are side decked, in case you didn't know. So I'm just taking a breath real quick. Now, when you're devising your side deck, you have to think, how many of each card would I like to play? For cards like these, you can only play one, but like Maxi, a card that's still a 3, you're like, how many Maxis do I want to play? Do I really need to play 3 of it? Like, do I really want to see a turn 1? Or can I wait for it a little bit and only play 2 of it? Most of the time, you only side deck 2 of a card, because you don't want to make room for other side deck cards, and you don't want to be cumbersome. Other cards like this that are at 1 that you can only side deck 1 of are easy choices. These two are typically coupled together. These two in Soul Drain has like a 3 of graveyard of negation thing. So knowing counts on which cards you're playing is really, really good. Making sure your set deck's diverse, so it covers a wide range of decks, not just 1 or 2. And then you have to also remember that for every card you put into your main deck from the side deck, you also have to take out cards from the main deck and put them into the side deck. So you have to think, do I have enough cards to take out for the side deck? So let's say I have a problem with Shaddolls, and I want a side deck, Triple Light Mirror, Macrocosmos Dimensional Fissure, Soul Drain, I want a side deck, Grand Mole also, and I want a side deck Defusions just to hurt him some more, and I'll side deck, I don't know what else, yeah, side deck, I'll side deck 3 Defusion, 3 Shadow Mirror, and then, so it's just, so you have 10 cards altogether that you want to side deck against Shaddolls, because you hate him that much. Now you have to think, you have to take out 10 cards of your main deck to put in all 10 of those cards. Alright, do you really think you have 10 cards to take out of your deck in order to play against Shaddolls? I mean, yeah, you're going to win against Shaddolls, maybe, as long as your deck isn't crippled too much. And then also, what if you only draw into your side deck cards? Like, what if you open up with, 3 Shadow Mirrors, a Macro, and a Dimensional Fissure? Like, that's not a hand you can do anything with. Your deck is so crippled because you took everything out for side deck cards that you can't win the duel. Even if you saw all of your side deck cards, it doesn't matter, you can't win because you put too many cards in there. So finding a balance like that is really, really good. Or putting in cards like Thunder King Raya that even, it's a side deck card, yes, but it also has usability as a monster and can keep you safe also. Things like that. And change experience, things that help remove cards. Like this will remove cards from the field in order to keep you safe until you draw into your actual deck cards. I'm not condoning side decking 10 cards for one matchup. That's silly. But also, just a little side note, this is a monster, by the way. 500 attack points. If you draw this and your opponent's at 400, almost have an attack. Like, I see people would do that all the time, where their opponent's at 200 or 300, and then they draw into maxi and they're like, go ahead. Like, what? There's no someone maxing attack. Even if they have back row. If they waste a deep prison on a maxi, awesome. Like, it doesn't matter. Just so. Now, whenever you're playing also, whenever you go into your side deck to switch out cards, you need to consider, am I going first or second? Now, you might just be thinking, oh, I'll throw in 3 Shadow Mirror anyway. No matter what, if I'm going first or second, doesn't matter. Alright, this is a card that you could put in no matter what. But cards like Dimensional Fissure, Change Experience, and Macrocosmos, cards like these, you only want to put in when you're going to go first. Okay? Now, why would I say that? Why would you only want to put those cards in when you're going to go first? Okay? If you're playing against something like Mermail or Shaddolls or something, Shaddolls is a little slower, so I guess you could put these in going second. But something like Mermail, where they go off first turn typically. If you don't see these turn 1, so if they go reveal Megalotus card gun lead, summon lead, off gun effect, add a sphere, overlay Dracocyte, detach 2, detach a material, summon 2 tokens. And then you're going second and you just go, I guess I'm setting these, go ahead. And they go, okay, Dracocyte effect, pop it already. And you're like, oh, darn it, I wish I would have saw I wish I was going first and I saw this instead. Going second, it really didn't do anything. So, things like that. Also, you only really want this going first. Like, you want to be able to open it and set it on your first turn, and then say, go ahead, try summoning a guy, because I have a response for it already. See, having this in your opening hand, and you're going second, you're just like, I wish I could have already had this on field, and this could have been a card that typically helps your deck out, rather than a dead card, now, because they've already used their effects. And then things that you only want going second would be things more similar to like Maxi or Grand Mole. Alright, or Maxi, even if you open it going second, you're like, I already have the card, I can Maxi you. So like Maxi could be traded in for, say, like Macrocosmos. So you're like, oh, if I'm going to go first, I'll set a Macro. If I'm going to go second, I'll set a Maxi. Because if I'm going first, I can stop them outright. If I'm going second, I can slow them down with Maxi. Well, with Grand Mole, like, you don't want to set this going first, because you're like, I'm going first, I mean, what I'm going to do, almost my grandma will say, go ahead. Now, you want to go second with this. And be like, okay, I'm going second. Summon, attack, and return your guy you made on your first turn. Return this to hand, go ahead. But with slower decks like Shaddolls, you can decide this going first and second. It depends on the speed and the tempo of your opponent's deck, on what you really should be siding and going first and second. And then things like this, also Forbidden Lance going second, it's infinitesimally better, because you're most likely going to be facing down a lot of back row. While going first, it really doesn't have any usability, because if you're on turn 1, you can do whatever setup you want, because you are not stopped. But yeah, so things you should be considering when you're going first or second, and when you're side decking. So cards that are always good, no matter what game state you're in, like if you're in mid, early, or late game, are good going first or second. Cards that you only want to see mid to late game are only good going second, and cards you only want to see early game are good going first. So yeah, that's the way you should think about it. Also, this is another thing. Before I go to events, I always do my ins and outs. Now, ins and outs are really simple. So say my side deck consists of these cards, right? And I'm thinking, okay, so in order to save time because you only have 45 minutes per round, in order to save time, when I'm like at my house before the regional, I'm like, okay, if I sit down and I'm playing Shaddolls, game 2, what am I going to side deck in? Side in Macrocosmos and Grandma. Alright, so then when I figure out what I want to side deck, I go through my deck and say, what cards can I take out? Because in those 3 minutes you have to side deck in the regional, you have a lot less time to think, and you'll most likely make a mistake in what you're taking out of your deck. Like you accidentally take out the wrong card, and you realize, oh, I need that card to beat this matchup. Well, if you're doing it at home, you have infinite time. Well, you have like 24 hours, I guess, to figure it out. So it really helps you out that way. Hopefully I'm explaining all this well enough. You want to make sure that when you're choosing your cards, you're carefully selecting what cards you want to take out of your main deck and replacing them with the side deck. Also, if you can figure this out beforehand, you have such an easy time side decking, and you can just sit there and count the amount of cards your opponent side decking, and you can make your opponent rush and possibly mess up. So yes, those are things you should consider. And then also, if you're doing this whole ins and outs thing, and you realize, I only have 2 cards against Burning Abyss, I better switch that up and put some cards in there against Burning Abyss, because I don't want to have that bad matchup. So things like that should go through your mind. Hopefully you guys understood this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Comment below what you guys want to see from me next. And hopefully you guys understood the video. If not, comment below your questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. See you guys later.